Welcome to Spill the Ink, a podcast by Reputation Inc., where we feature experts in growth and brand visibility for law firms and architecture, engineering, and construction firms. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey everyone, Michelle Calcote-King here. I'm the host of this show and also the principal and president of Reputation Inc. We're a public relations and content marketing agency for law firms. We understand how sophisticated corporate buyers find and select law firms. For the past 10 years, we have helped law firms grow through thought leadership fueled strategies, including media relations, byline article placement, blogging, email marketing, video marketing, social media, litigation PR, and more. To learn more, go to rep-inc, that's ink with a K.com, or email us at info@rep-inc.com. So our guest today is Valerie Danner. She's the senior managing editor of Legal Management Magazine, the flagship publication of the Association of Legal Administrators. Published 10 times a year, Legal Management features scholarly articles targeting law firm managers and managing partners. The publication focuses on 5 areas: legal industry and business management, human resources management, financial management, communications and organizational management, and operations management. So you can see there's a key there. It's all about management. So I'm really glad. Yeah, exactly. Just a little bit. So thanks for joining me, Valerie.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Absolutely. So Valerie, I'd love to spend this half hour just giving our listeners some background about you and your role, and really so that they can work better with you and maybe help contribute to the publication. So if you could tell me a little bit about, what does a senior managing editor do at a magazine like Legal Management?
Basically, I run the entire, speaking of managing, which I remember a lot about, that's what I do. I manage the entire process for the publication. I receive queries from writers, from PR agencies, from business partners. I write some articles myself. I work with staff and any key stakeholders that would need to review an article before it's published. I work with the art director to gather the art for the issue, and I also upload it into the content management system. So I touch all facets of legal management.
Okay. Yeah, great. So tell me, I gave the overview about the publication in that intro, but tell me about the topics maybe that you've been focusing on in the last year and in this upcoming year.
Well, the last year, it's definitely been very COVID pandemic change management heavy, as it is everywhere. That just affected everything to a degree, and also been a lot of positive, because I think it's pushed law firms to have to implement some changes that they might have resisted over the long term. So that's definitely been top of mind. Mental health has been another big one for us. I think that's going to be phase 2 of the pandemic. The outcome of everybody being so isolated and going through so much and not processing it is going to really have an effect on not just lawyers, but just people in general. And you have to, I think a lot of our members are human resources. So that's something that we try to educate and keep top of mind. And then there's perennial topics we always need to cover, like succession planning and IT and cybersecurity is another huge threat right now, especially with people being at home more.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I would imagine too, just the different labor market is going to be a big topic for next year. Is that something you guys are planning on looking at?
Actually, our cover story for January is, it's basically about the Great Resignation, and it's here, and how can you avoid it, and what are some steps you can put into place and signs you can recognize in employees that might be looking to jump ship so you can, keep things stable.
Oh, great. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be interested in that. So tell me, how did you get into this particular, legal reporting? What was your career path?
Well, I've been with ALA now for 6.5 years, but I started out, I knew I wanted to be a journalist since I was 16. So I went to college for that, focused on magazine production, and I loved Chicago and wanted to stay here, which inevitably leads you into association world, because every association has a publication. So this is my 4th association that I've worked at. So that's just kind of, it had nothing to do with a legal background, more or less just being able to use the skills that I have from publishing.
Nice. So more of the association focus and journalism. That's great. So tell me, what does a typical day look like for you?
Well, it's always looking ahead while also working on the current issue, I guess, is what a typical day is. Like right now, I'm scheduling, if you can believe it or not, for April 2022. I want to get those features assigned, and I'm already taking column pitches. There's been quite an uptick lately in pitches, which is a great problem to have. We just found out, like, we looked over our year-end stats, and our readership is up 45% this year, which is pretty amazing. So I don't know if there's a correlation there, but it's definitely been a lot more pitches than I've, got last year, for example. But yeah, right now I'm working on getting the January issue out the door, so members have it in an inbox after the first of the year. So it's just nonstop. I'm also working on a feature article that I'm writing for an upcoming issue of Legal Management. So it's always busy. It's always great. There's a 3-member publication team. So when I'm not working on legal management, I'm reviewing everything that ALA produces comes into my inbox for a copy edit.
And are the people that are pitching you, is it, my guess would be, is it's PR people, it's in-house people at law firms, and then is it also just professional freelance writers? Is that kind of the mix of people pitching you?
Yes, all of the above. I have, I'm lucky to have some really good established relationships with freelancers who do our features. So they'll pitch me, every year when I do my editorial calendar, I'll solicit pitches. So that's a great relationship that I rely on. In terms of columns, that's where a lot of our PR pitches come from. So that's, I would say 80% of my pitches for column content come from there. And every now and then a member will as well. I love when members want to write for me. I think that's the best voice to share with members.
So tell me, obviously you're getting a lot of pitches, and there's a lot of people who listen to this podcast who might be interested in pitching your publication. What to you makes a good pitch? What will make you respond?
I love it when the person pitching does a little bit of homework, like if they visit legalmanagement.org and do a search on their topic, or look at the last 6 months worth of issues at least. Because inevitably we cover a lot of the same topics, but we're always looking for a new angle on them, or, the why. Why is this important now? I've had people pitch articles that are literally in the current issue, and it's just doing that little bit of legwork would really really warm my heart.
Yeah.
And also just keep it succinct. Give me a paragraph, a few bullet points of why this is, a good fit for our audience, who's writing it, and, just the specs. I'll keep it within 800 words. I'll interview this source. Anything like that goes a long way to helping me plan.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of the basics. So do you go out there and proactively read content that others are putting out there, like law firms' websites, or kind of anything like that, or the emails that they're sending out, that kind of thing?
Firms sporadically, like if I need to do like a fact check or something. But I more will read industry news, like from American Lawyer, Attorney at Work, Law Practice Today, law.com, things of that nature are more what I regularly check in on.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially because you're more on the management side. So law firms are going to be putting out content about legal issues. So what about press releases? Are press releases still something that really helps you in your job? And are they something you're looking at?
I do. I have some really good relationships I've developed with PR professionals over the years. And a lot of that it started off with a random press release. And now we, have a relationship, work really well together, and they can anticipate my needs. So I think a press release is a great way to get in the door. I think one mistake a lot of firms make is they'll send a generic press release about someone making partner or something, along those lines. And that's not something we're going to cover, but if you have somebody making partner, is it the first woman in your firm making a partner? Freshen up the angle so it can, make it interesting to readers now. Not just a blanket press release about oh, hey, we hired so-and-so from somewhere.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Freshen it up and make it relevant. It goes back to, news is something that is new. So yeah, we have to remind our clients that quite a bit. So you've mentioned that you have these established relationships. What makes someone a good source that you'll kind of come back to over and over again?
Reliability. And honestly, just understanding my audience and taking a look at the editorial calendar and saying, hey, I have an expert that can either write a column for you, or they'd be great to be interviewed for the feature you have listed there. And I have about 3 or 4 of those relationships where I keep going to back for that, conversation. And when I get in a pinch, sometimes things fall through and I'll be like, hey, my writer had a source. They're not responding. Do you have somebody who can, contribute to this?
Well, that actually made me think of a great question that we should talk about. Tell me about your audience. Who are these people? What are their concerns? What are their typical job titles?
It's actually one of the bigger challenges of a magazine because we cover so many facets. It's a broad umbrella. It's people who run the business side of a law firm, essentially. And depending on the firm size, that could be an office administrator for a smaller firm who runs everything from like office management to HR, to some of the larger firms who have titles like executive directors or chief financial officers. So our content falls anywhere in between on that spectrum.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, is there anything that you wish attorneys or honestly service providers, since I'm guessing that's a lot of people pitching you, knew about the legal media and working with you?
It's a great way to drive organic leads to your client, to your website, to any of that. I think nowadays, especially like you hear the word media and it can carry like a heavy weight with it. But no, like we're there to elevate our members, elevate law firms, and anything that they can do or have a story to share that would work under that scope is of value. And I would just encourage anybody to reach out if you have a question, anything. Like I'm here. I don't bite. I love talking to writers. I love coaching them and finessing articles. So even if you have an idea that, you don't know that it would work well, just reach out to me. We'll have a conversation about it. But I think, especially law firms, like they need to kind of see it as a partnership. Like the first way people are going to find a lawyer is they're going to go to Google. Yeah. What's the best way to get your name up there? Have it like listed organically in a feature somewhere where it's highlighting an attorney within your firm or your managing partner or your firm administrator is quoted in it. I mean, that's great press.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the media gives that third party credibility that, paid media just can't do. So, and I love how accessible you are. I love that, a lot of people don't realize that, and not everyone is that way, but a lot of people don't realize that a lot of editors are more than happy for you to reach out and just talk to them. I know you're busy, but there are quite a few that are open to, as long as it's an educated, well-intentioned conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to wrap up with your thoughts on trends in the industry. We already we touched on that a little bit because obviously your editorial focus is going to focus on that. But give me your thoughts on the trends that you're looking out and you're watching out for.
So I think one of the biggest trends that will continue for the next several years is going to be non-lawyer ownership of law firms. I think what happened in Arizona is going to be happening in other states. So that's something we're keeping on top of. I think mental health for sure is going to be an ongoing subject we'll be covering, as well as emphasis on DEI and A issues. Specifically, not just, I think for a long time, places have had like a line item on their website, but now it's going to be clients are demanding action. They want to know how you're measuring it, what you're actually doing it, not just putting platitudes on a website, essentially. And I think remote work is here to stay. And I think that's going to be a tough one for firms. And I think our members are going to be the ones having to deal with a lot of resistant attorneys, but also a younger workforce coming in saying like, hey, we've proven we can do this. Let's talk. So I think that's just going to be, especially in the next year, as things hopefully get back a bit more to normal. I think that's going to be a hot button.
Yeah, that's so true. Your members are really going to be the ones kind of on that front line of the whole shift to remote work and managing hybrid workforces and, onboarding remote people and that whole thing. So
cybersecurity too. I mean, that'll fall on a lot of them as well.
Huge issue. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. So, listeners, we've been talking to Valerie Danner, the Senior Managing Editor of Legal Management Magazine. So, Valerie, if people do want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do so?
You can send me an email at publications@alanet.org. That goes to all three of the editors on staff. So one of us will get it and we will get back to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Appreciate the time today.
Thanks for listening to Spill the Ink, a podcast by Reputation Inc. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.